History of women's basketball. Big plays and thrilling performances were expected by fans worldwide, but few were ready for what would happen at the All-Star Draft. One of the league's most well-known young players, Caitlin Clark, took leadership before the game even started in a manner seldom seen from a rookie, adding to the event's traditions and making headlines. Notable people like Sophie Cunningham and the well-known Cheryl Miller accompanied her on the national stage. Each of them contributed in a different way to what ended up being a momentous occasion in sports history. Expectations were high for Caitlin Clark, who has been in the news since her record-breaking time as an undergraduate at Iowa. Her long-range shooting, court vision, and brave attitude rapidly attracted the attention of peers and spectators. She won the captaincy of one of the two All-Star teams because she was so well-liked that she led all players in the All-Star fan voting. In and of itself, that was incredible, particularly because she was a novice. However, Clark didn't end there. The league was surprised by what she did next. On July 8, 2025, Caitlin Clark accomplished an unprecedented feat during a live broadcast All-Star Draft when she casually turned to NEA Collier, the captain of the opposing team. When it came time to choose which head coaches would be assigned to each team at the conclusion of the draft, a coach swap was suggested, something that had never occurred in league history. Sandy Brondello, her coach, will accompany her. Come on, let's get it. It will be fantastic. Initially, Clark attempted to exchange Sandy Brondello, the head coach of the New York Liberty, who had been assigned to Collier's squad, for Cheryl Reeve, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. When Nafi Sakir agreed and laughed with Clark, the league management approved the change. News of this unplanned incident spread quickly. Furthermore, nobody had switched before. It was the assurance with which Clark assumed command of the circumstance. "I'm not sure if this is permitted," she remarked. "I'm not particularly concerned. Before I proposed the trade, I said." Her bravery conveyed a message about how players are increasingly speaking up and how the game is managed, particularly at key events like the All-Star Game. Many admirers applauded her for taking the initiative and injecting energy to the event. Some regarded it as a direct response to recent arguments between Clark and Coach Reeve, including criticism that had come up during negotiations about the Olympic team earlier in the season. A well-known WNBA figure with years of expertise and a great coaching background, Coach Cheryl Reeve was recently involved in controversy about Caitlin Clark's Olympic snub. Clark's withdrawal from the Team USA women's basketball squad for the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris was driven by Reeve, the coach of the national team. The rookie's choice to trade her out of the All-Star Game might have been influenced by the animosity between Clark and Reeve. Many fans and pundits think the action made a subtle but impactful statement, regardless of whether it was Clark's genuine goal. Infiza Collier, who had coached Reeve on her squad following the swap, handled the situation calmly. She joked that since Reeve already knew every teammate of Collier's Minnesota Lynx, the move might be a mistake for Clark. Even though the mood was lighthearted, it was obvious that this was a thoughtful and important choice. Clark desired a coach that was comfortable with her and could better understand her style of play. The coach she selected, Sandy Brondello, is renowned for her flexible coaching approach and close relationship with her players. Many people think she would give Clark the flexibility to perform as well as possible in the showcase game. Another WNBA player, Sophie Cunningham, entered the discussion when word of the coach trade circulated on social media and in sports media. Cunningham has long pushed boundaries in the league and fought for players' rights. She is highly recognized for her direct personality and flaming fire. She quickly expressed her support for Clark, complimenting her self-assurance and time management skills. Cunningham understood the importance of a young player like Clark taking on a leadership position so early in her career, having seen her share of difficulties in the league. Cunningham also took use of the occasion to show how the league is changing. In the past, players frequently blindly adhere to the league's rules. The younger generation of athletes is now demonstrating that they don't hesitate to speak up and take the initiative when they believe something needs to change, thanks to celebrities like Clark setting the example. This will help women's sports in general, as well as the league's expansion. Cunningham said, "When fans witness athletes being authentic, taking charge of their careers, and making daring decisions, they feel a stronger connection. Legendary basketball player Cheryl Miller created a stir with her opinions and response to the situation, while Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham grabbed headlines with their audacious actions and remarks. One of the best women's basketball players of all time and an experienced analyst, Cheryl Miller has always been a fervent supporter of the development and integrity of the sport. One of the most thrilling and significant events in All-Star Game history, according to her, was the coach swap. It was more than just entertainment, in her opinion. The WNBA's perspective on players' authority and decision-making capacity evolved. This type of event, according to Miller, demonstrated the league's progress. It would have been unimaginable for athletes to select or change coaches on national television in the past. The league now promotes individuality, player participation, and fan interaction. Miller commended Clark for his professionalism and self-assurance, pointing out that this will probably set a new standard for upcoming events. She thought the WNBA was about to enter a new age in which players would have more control and viewers would enjoy themselves more. The All-Star Game pairings were established by the end of the draft. Some of the league's most promising young players, such as Aaliyah Boston, Sada Sabali, Sabrina Ionescu, and A. Wilson, made up the core of Caitlin Clark's squad. The team coupled a potent offense with shrewd leadership under Sandy Brondello's direction. However, Breanna Stewart, Paige Bueckers, Mecca Alike, and Alicia Gray, another formidable group, were part of Cheryl Reeves' Keir squad. It was expected that the July 19th All-Star Game would be an amazing occasion full of drama, vigor, and excitement. The story's ability to transcend the boundaries between competition and entertainment, in addition to its competitive nature, was what made it so captivating. The unscripted drama that is common in men's leagues, particularly the NBA, was first presented by Clark. There's a lot of discussion when LeBron James speaks up or changes the dynamics of the squad. The world took notice when Caitlin Clark started doing something similar in the WNBA. This was a great moment for a league that has frequently struggled to receive fair media coverage. Social media was inundated with highlight reels, panel debates, and viral videos. The audience had expanded beyond sports enthusiasts. Those who had never previously watched the WNBA became interested in it. It was also noted by many onlookers that this was not a prearranged media event. It was sincere, impromptu, and completely original. What drew so many people was that earnestness. The WNBA has occasionally come under fire from the sports media for being overly strict, requiring players to abide by the rules, keep quiet, and concentrate solely on the game. However, Caitlin Clark corrected it in a single remark, and the media praised her. One thing was also quite evident in this moment. The impact of players in the WNBA is increasing. For a very long time, athletes had little say in the major decisions made by coaches and league officials. However, a change was indicated by the All-Star coach change. Clark demonstrated that the players are prepared to take the initiative in addition to wanting to participate in the decision-making process. This is also evident in many facets of the league. Players that have assumed leadership positions within the Players' Union, such as A.A. Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and Namiki, have influenced rules pertaining to marketing, travel, and compensation. It's apparent that the next generation of athletes has more impact, then it's also interesting that the league didn't shut it down. Despite the fact that the coach swap violated the set format, the WNBA permitted it to occur. It said a lot, that unsaid support. The league used it as a communication tool. We are paying attention to the players. This kind of behavior was commended here and made headlines, but in other leagues it would have resulted in sanctions or bad press. That shows how much player leadership, trust, and skill are developing in the WNBA. The coach change undoubtedly represented a broader generational shift in basketball. Athletes like Caitlin Clark are part of a new generation of athletes. Tech-savvy, self-assured, and not scared to question the existing quo. Growing up, this younger generation seen NBA stars express themselves both on and off the floor. They observed how athletes used public spaces, player branding, and social media to engage with fans directly. The WNBA is doing the same thing right now. The younger generation does not want to be constrained by established systems. They want rivalries to intensify, personalities to emerge, and dramatic events to happen organically. The All-Star Game coach exchange was one of the best illustrations of that way of thinking. because it was audacious, impulsive, and slightly rebellious. Fans adored it. Legends like Sue Bird and Tamika Catchings, among other athletes from earlier generations, laid the groundwork with skill and hard work. Players like Caitlin Clark are making a bigger, louder, and more obvious impact these days. Today's WNBA is unique because it blends the past and current. In addition, the league is changing while maintaining its core values. Corporate sponsors' perceptions of the WNBA are also changing as a result of Caitlin Clark's audacity. Athletes that can produce viral moments are highly valued by brands. Businesses took note after the coach switch received millions of views and trending hashtags. Before the season started, Clark already had significant connections with companies like Gatorade and Nike. However, this kind of attention increases her marketability even further. The WNBA is now far more personality-driven when it comes to sponsorships. Star power is more important than statistics alone. Brands are exposed when players make headlines. Marketing analysts projected an increase in WNBA jersey sales, demand for All-Star Game tickets, and league publicity after the draft. Some even liken Clark's impact on the WNBA to that of Simone Biles in gymnastics or Serena Williams in tennis. She is introducing a new audience to the sport. Additionally, Clark is not alone. Cheryl Miller's insightful comment and Sophie Cunningham's strong support made the event more memorable. It demonstrated that there are many powerful, vocal women in the WNBA who are willing to question conventions and spearhead cultural discussions. Today's brands want to take part in it. Future preparations for the event are probably going to be altered by this all-star moment. Now, it's more than just an entertaining show. It's a platform for creative control, influence, and leadership. Fans may now anticipate that the players will advocate for yearly changes. Will athletes pick their coaches once more? Will the supporters select the coaching staff? Is it possible for leaders to respond to a captain's challenge by changing other duties mid-game? The WNBA has the chance to promote fan engagement and creativity. The league may broaden the scope of All-Star Weekend by granting players more autonomy. There are other things that people are interested in besides basketball. Stories, rivalries, personalities, and unpredictability are what they're searching for. They received all of that in a single evening from Caitlin Clark. Even the All-Star Game structure is subject to change. The NBA has already experimented with a number of tactics, including team charity and target scoring. The WNBA may take a similar route, where history and innovation mix in fascinating ways. Because of up-and-coming stars like Clark and fearless voices like Cunningham and Miller influencing the conversation, fans were interested in more than simply the outcome of the All-Star Game. They studied how the players responded to the new dynamics, how the coaches handled unplanned situations, and how Clark's leadership evolved. Initially perceived as a rule-breaking maneuver, the coach swap turned out to be the pivotal moment for both the event and potentially the leagues. For more WNBA updates, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. If you think this was a power play, a message to the league,